detail normals or detail textures in general, it used to be a little bit more of a thing that you had to do manually and set up the node yourself. We can let's just go into our Empire Doodles section here, and we'll just make a material detail mat. We'll go at the beginning. We'll do mm_ for master material, just so that we have the naming kind of in mind. Let's open this guy up. Let's bring him up here. Man, you know, I wish you could dock this window and the content browser into this window. Oh, is that for real? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, that's amazing. As well, when I hold down control and scroll on this, it's the first time I realized you could do that as well. I was like, dude, that's nice. Fuzel, what's up? How you doing? It works. Yes. So normally you have your material kind of set up, right? I guess if we just look up detail texturing, you have this node. But I kind of want to go over it just a little bit before we jump into it. So essentially what you're looking at is when you look at an asset like this, let's say you've got a normal map that you've baked out. Let's say that all these details on the side are baked out, or even not. I mean, right now these are decals, right? Floating on the outside edge of the geometry. Maybe I should can get Blender loaded up as well. Oh, my eyes. Let's see here. Blockout. Great file name. Blockout_001. So when we're looking at these wall pieces that are in Unreal, right? These guys, what you're seeing is these decals kind of floating on the outside edge. And they're just like, I've got an alpha cut out for them, and they're deferred so that way I don't have to texture them. And the color of whatever's under it kind of shines through, right? Now, the detail normals on this, the idea is, because I'm not baking anything on like this inner mesh piece here, this guy, it's going to be, even unwrapped, it's going to be pretty smooth, right? There's not going to be a lot of like baked information on there. It's just going to be whatever the base material is for the asset. Now, in order to kind of alleviate the low resiness of it, you can add these detail normals, which is like where we're getting all of these little details here, right? Now, just like a basic look at it, when you expose the detail normals, you can see without it being tiled, that's a 0. Like, it's not tiled at all. The resolution is going to be quite low. What's up, Tobias? How you doing? The resolution is going to be quite low, but if you turn it up, let's say we're at 1, you can go in and start tiling it, right? And this is going to be individual, especially nice with assets where you have a baked 0 to 1. You can still have this material, this detail normal, blending on top and tiling independently of the baked normal. So you'll have your baked normal at 0 to 1, and then you'll have your detail normals tiling higher in the background. And then the idea as well is, so I think I'm just stealing a normal that's in like the starter kit of for Unreal. So you can see this is like, you can control the strength. Let's say we go up to like 10, so you can really see it. So there's some other things that I'm doing here that I'm not showing. Oh man, I'm excited for Ben's talk. Gabs, what's up? Good to see you. So the detail normal by default is let's see if we can kill the master mask. Oh, that's gonna break everything, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, so the detail normal is just a tileable normal map, right? And the information you're seeing where it's becoming like flat right here, and then higher frequency here is actually me just feeding in another mask that controls, just like in Substance Designer, a black and white mask that controls the overall intensity. And then I'm changing the power or strength of that normal. So I can turn it way up. And you can see those areas that were quite flat. What's up, Andre? Those areas that were quite flat are now starting to get textural depth to them, but they're still not full strength. So that means that my mask is not completely black in that dark range, right? So you still get information coming through. Now you can see because I'm using a normal that Epic had provided, I've actually made it negative. So if I do like -5, then you're getting more of that the kind of pitted stone look that you get. Because right when you think about this type of material, what you're actually looking at is a stone surface, and then the idea is that it wears away, it breaks down, and that can't happen outwards, right? That can't be going this way. That looks like a flipped normal to me, right? Or it's pointing the wrong direction. So we just go in the negative range, and then we increase the tiling in order to get the resolution as nice as we want, or as high res as we want. And it's crazy because you can tile your detail normals quite high. So like if I get really close to this asset, let's say this is a first person game, right? We get really close. Of course, you can see the mask of the kind of drippy green texture here. You can see that's showing some resolution issues, right? But the detail normal is really helping hold up the surface. So in a world where I modify the shader well enough, I can go in and crisp up these edges of the mask, helping retain that resolution as well. So you can see the resolution difference between here and here. And that's just literally the difference of tiling the detail normal enough. Now, just some notes on how this is kind of being set up, or some things to think about, I guess I should say, when it comes to these detail textures, is it's pretty rare that, at least from what I've seen so far, that a game will use more than the detail normal. In production, right, you're having to load textures every single time you're running a game. And when you load into a map or you're running forward, you have a detail normal. And let's say that for testing purposes, let's say that this is like a brushed metal, and this one is a how would you say it? A brushed metal, maybe like a rubber, and then maybe like a rusted metal, right? So if you were to think about it from a detail normal sense, you've got your detail normal for your stone or your brushed metal, which will be like a brushed pattern in your detail normal. Then for maybe the rubber one, maybe you'd have some like surface information in your detail normal that looks like a bumpy rubber surface. And then for like this metal with the rust, let's say that shader is blending between a rust material and a metal material. Those are both going to be like, is the metal brushed here? If it's not, then it's using a different detail normal to this metal wall. And then the rust is also using a different detail normal. So if that were the case, you would literally be loading 4 different detail normals here, right? And so it makes a whole lot of sense that when you're making a game and you're trying to keep memory, like video memory, down, you're going to be trying to load less of these textures. So while you can do a detail normal and you can do like a roughness detail or a detail roughness and a detail diffuse, it is very often that you will not do that, because that's more textures you're going to have to load. Some other things that I've noticed, at least as far as like being in games for the time that I've been in, is that the resolution of a detail normal doesn't usually go beyond 512. Sometimes they're even lower, like a 256. And detail normals are even more used on characters, right? So if you've got a character that's got a scarf on and then like a weaved, a specific type of weave for their shirt, and then they have their skin and their face, those are, especially in the face, you're going to have different types of detail normals for different parts of the face, as well as like different detail normals for the shirt, different detail normals for the scarf. So that all gets loaded in. And if you were to say like, I'm going to make all of those 512, if you just lower it from a 512 to a 256, you can now pay for 4 detail normals for the same cost as a 512, right? So Ollie in chat says Unity's HR or HDRP shader uses a single map for detail, albedo, normal, and mask. Really? It's cool. So it's a detail normal. So a detail normal is a decal, just not for normal mapping. No, not necessarily. So it's actually built into the shader. So we can look at this now. Let me jump into this shader really fast. We'll go into the primary one here, and I'll dig these out and we'll build it up from the ground. That way you can see what I'm talking about. So we've got like let's say we've got a baked normal here, stone. Okay. So got a detail normal. I'm just going to grab that and put it in here. And we'll use this twice. That way we're main texture. So, or main normal, I should say. Okay, so, oh wow, there's 122 of you guys in here. You guys waiting for Ben? 61 minutes, man. I'm excited. Can you show us the Blender file for the decals, please? Yeah, it's just these. So these are the decals, but this has nothing to do with the detail normals. Like if we go into wireframe, this is what it looks like, right? And then I'm beveling it once and then weighting the normals. But yeah, and then the inner area here, these guys. These are just cubes unwrapped and beveling in the shader or in the modifiers, weighted, and then I'm displacing these guys by a little bit just so that they're not clipping. Here for the game art goodness. Nice. Good to see you, Paul. I'm excited for your talk next week, man. That's next week already, isn't it? Yeah. So normally you would put your normal in here, right? And then we've got this normal surface. We'll make it a cube so we can really see what's going on here. Oh man, everything's kind of turned around. There we go. We'll just expand this outward so we can really look at it. So there's a decent amount of information in here. There's a lot of surface info, as not only these little like pock marks or these little pitted detail in here. If I look at the texture, what is the texture called? Yeah, it's even called rubber blue. So this is for Epic, this is a rubber detail normal. So they're going for a very specific look. You can kind of see it in the surface there. So again, when you get close to it, it's quite low res, right? So then we would take, for this example, we'll use the same detail normal or same normal map, and we'll just we'll plug all of these in. So there's a normal input, which is a vector 3, right? So we just put our normal in here like usual. If I open this up too, you can see, I don't know if you guys knew you can open up the nodes. Some people don't know, some did it accidentally, some no. But if you want to see what's happening behind the scenes, you can go into their nodes. It's a material function, right? Just like some of the stuff Chris was showing last week. So if you got your material function set up here, and then they add all their inputs and then their 2 outputs. So for our example, we're just going to be using a normal and then a detail normal. Substance designer, it's true, Muck. So oh yeah, this also needs to be converted into a where are we at here? Use current texture. Oh, is it because what is going on? My brain. Let's locate you. Oh, this is so nice. I can just pull it from, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just gonna, we're gonna kill that. And we're gonna right click on that and convert it to a texture object. And then you can input it. So you can tell that it needs to be a texture object because of this TD or T2D. And then we output the normal here, right? Now, right now they're tiling at the same amount. And if you look at what I was doing in the other material, we're just taking a texture coordinate. Paul, dude, I'm so excited about it. I never tried it. So if you take the texture coordinate and a multiplier, you can add a parameter for control. So we'll just copy these just for the sake of, oh no, I can't tile this. I guess I have to tile it through here. Scale, right? Yes. Man. Okay, so if you have this scale, right? This is the scale of the detail normal, which actually it says it's already scaling twice. So if I right click on this input, I should be able to promote to parameter, and then it will give me the parameter with the name with a default value of 0. So let's go in and make the default value 1, and then minimum, I would say don't set a minimum and don't set a max, mainly because the scale of the object, if you don't set up your, I mean, there's some unique ways you can set up your detail normal, but we'll talk about that after. The idea is that you want to be able to scale your detail normal as much as you want or as little as you want, or go in the negative, right? Because you want the control of having the detail normal match the scale of the asset. Oh, Ninja, and dude, that's awesome. Parameter. So param. So we've got the param for scale now. We've got that exposed, and then we've got our main normal and our detail normal, which is just called texture object right now. I don't know if I can. I mean, you can highlight this and press C and just say detail normal. I'll help you keep your head on straight. And then we've got our scalar and our normal. This is pretty simple stuff, but I can't emphasize this enough. Detail normals should be on everything. Like everything. If it's got surface information and you want to be seeing that up nice and close, it should be on your material. Because that's how, like, when you're wondering how a material looks so high res and good and is shipped on a console or a PC game, it's because detail normals are there. Like a baked normal is only going to hold up until you're like, I don't know, 2 meters from it. And if the object becomes bigger and bigger, you're going to be starting to use tileable materials as well, tileable textures. And it's just beneficial to have a detail normal. Even on small props, oh yeah, even on small props. If you want to be super sneaky about it, you can, in the alpha channel of your, depends on how small, for sure. The thing is, though, is remember that detail normals, while common and on everything, they're 512, right? They're a 512 texture, maybe 256 if you want to keep it low. And then you just tile it and you don't even see that resolution issue. And if you let's say you've got an asset that's let's say you're using a metal, like a generic metal, a generic rubber, and a generic concrete, or like stone. Those three alone on every asset based off of that type is quite detailed already, and that's only 3 256 textures. It does not hurt you to put it on everything, because like if you put it on a tiny prop and you're only using those 3, you can guarantee that those 3 textures are almost always loaded into the video RAM and the VRAM. So you're just going to be, it's cheap. That's super cheap stuff. Moshi, how you doing? So it has a fixed scale. Yes. Yeah. So Red, I was going to talk about that next, actually. So you can set it up so that the scale of the normal is essentially tied to the object's scale or the world space scale. So it's always at a fixed amount. Object scale function to multiply. I wonder if I can. Yeah, so if you do object scale, so you could set this value, right, for your scale. And the thing is, though, is the way that it's using this is as a single input. And I don't know if, let me look in here. Input, there's the texture, input detail normal. Texture being multiplied. Multiply intensity scalar. Then it's being added on top of the, yeah. So, okay. So they're not doing it in here. But I guess you could, what you could do is modify. Man, I've never done that, so I'm not going to attempt to do that on stream right now. But you should be able to go in here in the detail texturing node and save this as your own material function of like a world space or fixed detail. What would you name that as? Fixed detail texturing is probably what I would call that material function. And essentially the idea would be that you the input intensity, or not the intensity, sorry, where are we at here? Texture, UVs, input scalar, you'd replace this with your, where am I at? You'd replace this with your object scale. So you could, in your X and your Y, or is this single input going to work here? Is that going to work? I should try that. We should try that out. Anyways, you could put that input information into, instead of this input scalar, you don't have to scale it at all, and it'll always be the same size. Oh yeah, Megascans has detail normals built into their shaders. Sandy, how you doing? Hello. Nice to see you. So, 134, dude. Man, you guys are really excited for Ben, huh? Dude, I'm excited as well. Ben says, there are usually small textures, and you typically intentionally remove for textures from the asset. For example, you might be able to use a lower resolution base color because you can regain that detail back using detail textures. Yes. Yeah, what makes them cheap is how they impact the rest of the asset development. It's a big deal. Detail normals, man. Yeah, the idea is to minimize loading more than you need, but getting the biggest jump in quality, which I would say detail normals do that quite easily. The complexity of roughness alone with just that one texture input for your roughness does so much that you don't really need a detail roughness. Sandy, thank you. But a detailed diffuse, maybe, which is why you see in their detail texturing node, they've got diffuse and normal. So this is the same mentality. Thanks a lot, Sandy. But yeah, so if you've got that set up and we zoom in here, I'm gonna have to remember the object scale. I forgot that existed. So adding albedo and roughness makes it just too expensive. Okay, well look at it. Okay, look at it like this. Let's say you've got 20 props that you load in your scene, and you're always like running forward across the map, right? You've got 20 assets, and they load in when you load into the game or into the level, and then you start running forward. Some of the assets stay because they're ahead of you as well, and there's more of them. And then some of them unload because they're no longer in range to be in your memory. So they unload out, and then other ones load in front of you. Now, if you're having to pay for a a diffuse, a roughness, and a normal for all of them. That's 3 textures times 20 assets, right? That's loading and unloading. And let's say you're always staying around 20 unique assets. If you then add a detail roughness, that's 20 times 4 instead. And then if you add a detail diffuse as well, that's 20 times 5 textures. And even with them being lower res, you're still loading in stuff, right? How are diffuses blended? Is it just lerping or is more going on? We can look in here. I will say that I don't ever use it other than to experiment. I did some stuff to try to see how it would look. But how are they blending them? So texture, detail, diffuse. So they're lerping them with a diffuse intensity scale. That's interesting. They're multiplying them together. Linear interpolate. That's how you blend between like 2 materials. So like if you were to do stone here and moss here, you could use an alpha input here, and wherever it's white, it would show, I think it's B, and if it's black, it shows A. It might be the other way around, but yeah. But yeah, Ben says as well, it depends a lot on the context because you still pay for the texture fetching. If you think about it though, the typical tileable layered materials with masks is like detailed materials. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so array, it is definitely like a lerp in general is like when you blend between 2 materials or 2 things in designer as well. But yeah, it looks like they're lerping and then they're multiplying it on top of the original diffuse. So I'm almost wondering if it's probably better for your detailed diffuse to not really have much color in it. Lerp is like a copy blend in designer. Yes. Spot on, Tish. So yeah, they have the clamp there as well. So let's just go in here and let's just scale this up. So if we make this 5, you can see already, like when you get close, you get these smaller details. If we do 2 or maybe 3, there you go. You're gonna get a detail normal that comes in for these guys. And if we let's promote to a parameter. I should just save this so we can make an instance of it. And then you can see it real time. Oops. Oh. Well, there's a problem. I guess I need 2 content browsers. Where are we at here? Content browser. All right, so our second one's there. So we'll keep content browser 1 in the material and then 2 out here. Oh, that's so nice. I'm gonna pop this open here on the side. See, it's really nice is actually, I don't think you need this here. It's just more about being able to, like, when you search, it doesn't hop to this window. You can just be in here and find what you're looking for. Like if I go here, scroll down and then hit search, it'll just hop over here. Ooh, that's never going back. You always have the content browser in the viewport and graphs. It's so efficient. Dude, this is way better than having to go back here and then select it and then or drag it into the tab. Ugh. Ugh. All right, so let's look at that material now. So we've got this detail material. We're gonna create a material instance of it. We'll open that up, and this is fine like this. So we have our main normal, which is the texture. But then we've our rubber blue 01 normal. And then we have our scale for our detail normal. Let me see if that is odd. I wonder why that's not showing. Oh, intensity, of course. So the intensity, yeah, so you can see as we tile it up, especially here, you'll see this is really what you're paying for. So detail normals or any of this tiling information, you don't really notice down here. It's mainly in like the highlights or the light edge transitions where you go from a bright to in shadow. Let's turn the strength up so you can really see it, right? But yeah, so with no detail normal, we're looking at it like this. But as you tile it up, like you get super nice surface detail, right? And all of a sudden, for the cost of one normal, you're getting a fidelity that is quite high. It's not noticeable. I don't know why. And then you're like, oh, the intensity 0. Yeah, and you don't really see the tiling, especially if the detail normal is quite good. But it can break down, right? And like maybe we want to make this a negative. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty interesting. Because now these are sticking out. Yeah, and the nice thing about detail normals is from a distance, right? They lose their effect. So you get a lot free for this. Let's save this and we'll go in here actually, and let's just make it metal so that we're really oh, what do I will do this. Yo. Let's get that base color. Let's get something lighter. That's a little better. Maybe it's too light. A lot of metals are going to be up there in the. Let's do something like that, maybe. And then we probably need a roughness value that is a little bit more on the metallic side. 0.4 is maybe a little too. We should just promote these. Param. Can you press F2 on? No. Oh, would be too easy. Okay, we'll save this. Rustius, what's up? How you doing? 39 minutes. Don't forget as well, if you're in the Discord or if you're not, you should join the Discord and you can ask questions for Ben for after his talk at the questions for DinCon channel. Doing pretty well, man. I had a really relaxing weekend. Okay, so we've got this all saved out. It's a good Monday as well. Weather's nice. Detail, no, there we go. Okay, so now we've got this. Oh man, we should promote that this color too. Color, there we go. Yeah, weather is crazy nice today. Same with yesterday, like being the shadows with the t-shirt warm, which is very strange. Okay, so we've got this. We're gonna promote this color here, and maybe we'll. I don't have a color chart on hand, so bear with me. We can take the roughness and keep it quite reflective, but man, something is going on with our environment. But I think you get the point. Goldish. Let's apply it to this asset and see what happens. Haven't tried that at all. Oh boy. So look, you can see the edge information's holding up, and you can see our detail normal is this is the joys of decals, man. It's not even a bake normal on there. Delicious. Okay, let's open this up. We'll drag this out here. Looking good. Let's get a nice glancing angle on that. And then let's can this? No, man, if you could dock, oh my god, please. Let's grab this. And we'll make it more of that color. That's kind of cool. And then you can see the scale, the detail normal. We have to scale it up more for this type of asset, just because of the scale of the object itself. But I mean, that's feeling pretty nice. Maybe we'll make this negative. Yeah. Except for these little guys sticking out the wrong way. Feels pretty nice. Yeah, and you can see as you scale this stuff, you can get some nice effects. And you got to be looking at and thinking about the size of the asset, right? I'm sure Dynasty's gonna come up with Eldorado level later. Yeah, so first person, VR, third person, all of the above, man. Side scrollers, maybe not so much, right? Because the readability of the overall scene needs to be there. But detail normals, man, they are everything. I talk about them a lot on the stream, and I just want to make sure that you guys know, and that it's really hammered in that, like, you should have detail normals on almost everything. If it gets small enough that you don't notice it and the camera's never close to the asset, then it's fine. But if your camera gets close to it, or you're getting like a camera angle, let's say we get a camera angle that's like right here, it's nice and low. I think because of the style of what I've been building here, you wouldn't add detail normals on this type of thing. But it's something you would add when you get really close to an asset. Like, see, this feels kind of low. It's important, I think. But yeah, so that's essentially detail normals. Let me make sure I don't have anything else that's in here on my notes. And I mean, Epic made it really easy now with this detail texturing node. And you can go in and dissect it yourself. Like, this is how this chunk here. This chunk here is what you had to do before to get your detail normals to work. Now, some of the more advanced stuff you could do is, like, if you have a 0 to 1 asset, right? And Adel, how you doing, man? So if you have a 0 to 1 asset and you don't know how to separate out what's a detail normal and not, of course, because you're already paying for the 0 to 1, you could sneak the alpha into sorry, not the alpha. You could sneak in a black and white mask, maybe into the normal map, and then compress the normal map manually, so that way you have an alpha or a texture in your blue channel of your normal. That is a black and white mask that says what the strength is of your detail normals. So you can think about this mask as a detail normal strength controller. So instead of in the shader, you're going and making it a certain amount of strength. Where are we at here? Detail normal intensity. So instead of 0 to 1 range or higher, you could what's up, Pink Beast? How you doing? You could input a detail normal and then give it a mask, and that mask is black to white, the control of full strength at white, and black being no strength, right? So then if you had like a 0 to 1 bake of Okay, this cup is perfect for this example. So you can see it's pretty smooth here, right? But then this is really rough. So you would just make a black and white mask where the detail normal shows up on this, but then up here, there's no detail normal, right? Yeah, a 0 to 1, yeah, just for clarity, a 0 to 1 asset is I always say it like that, but a 0 to 1 asset is a asset with a unique albedo, unique normal, and unique roughness. No tiling textures are being used, and it's all a unique one-off. You can see why tiling textures tend to be used a whole lot more, like trim sheets, tiling textures. Those two allow you to get away with a whole lot more on the memory backend than having like 20 assets with unique albedos, unique normals, and roughness maps. But if you're paying for those unique assets anyways, you can totally sneak in another channel somewhere where you can just like even your albedo, although I wouldn't say do it on your albedo, but let's say you did it in your albedo, you could put it into your alpha channel, and then that mask could be used to power the strength of the normal. So like you can see it here, right? I've got areas where it's not as strong and areas where it's stronger, and that's actually, let me find it. That's actually happening inside master mask. Let me go into the stone material here. Yeah, so see, I've got a let's see what I'm doing here. It's been a while since I looked in here. So I've got a mask where I'm pulling the blue channel. I should see what that mask looks like. All right, here we are. So the blue channel, is that really what I'm pulling? No. Hang on. Now I need to dissect this. But essentially there's a mask that I'm plugging in and controlling the strength of the detail normal. So I'm using a flattened normal node, and the flatness is being controlled. Detail normal strength. I'm gonna also click this guy. If you didn't know this, man, I didn't know this about a month ago. I found out this button existed. Hide unrelated, and it'll just live half opacity on things that aren't related to what you're selecting. Really, really useful. Oh, that button. Paul saw me discover it accidentally. That button was literally discovered because of really good UX design. You're like, man, I wish I could hide the wires, and then you see this. It says hide unrelated, and I just tried it and was like, what? So let's look at so we've got our blend corrected angle corrected normals, which is just our baked 0 to 1 normal map goes in. Then we've got our detail normal, and our detail normal is being controlled by a flatten normal, which is, here's our detail normal, our tiling controls on it, but then the flatness is where we've got our detail normal strength. And if you go up here, there we go. There's an alpha channel in this texture that's got ranges in it for the strength of the detail normal. And then this this detail normal strength parameter is multiplying on top of it to boost that mask and any information coming out of it. So let's locate this one really quick. And you can see that even though we embedded the thing in that window, it does not help us. So shift red, green, blue. So there's our alpha channel, right? So this alpha channel, this is the black and white mask that's powering the strength of the, oh, it's so good. That texture's so good. And you can see it going left to right, not up and down, but left to right because of the way the orientation of the UVs are. And now you can kind of see it as well. But that's what's controlling the intensity of the detail normal. So if this was a 0 to 1 and this mask was here, I would probably you could control the strength of the detail normal in this color with that type of mask. Yeah, where was that button all your life? Dude, that button's so useful. Let's see here. So yeah, so you can control the strength of your, no, don't save that. The strength of your detail normals as well. And this goes really well when you have like a baked, let's say you had a bicycle and you baked all of the rubber, like the pedals, let's say the pedals are rubber, for whatever reason, maybe the tires got baked into the 0 to 1 as well. And the handles, and those are all rubber, right? So the metal parts, you wouldn't want that to be there. So you just mask those out, and then you leave the rest to be having the detail normals on it. So do you guys have, I didn't see in chat if there were many questions. Don't forget to do the questions for Ben Wilson if you got them. Never thought about using a mask to tweak the detail normal intensity. I've always used just a scaler and tweaked it globally. Gotta add this to my scene for sure. Yeah, dude, it's like, it's super powerful. We're all busy taking notes. Nice. Ollie taking one for the team. How does it feel to lie to me, Ollie? Can you show us a graph where you're masking a detail normal? Yes. Where are we at here? So let's get in there. Because it's this mask, right? And red, green, blue. We turn the alpha off. This is the kind of broke up. I'm actually using a detail. Now that I look at it, I'm kind of using a detail diffuse for all of the stone. And it's pretty muted. That way I can tint the colors of it. Oh yeah, it's all good, Viral. It takes some, I mean, you just got to get into it and start using it and you'll figure it out. You got a whole community to ask questions, right? So if we look at the material here, now that I've seen Chris's stream, I need to go through and clean this all up. But so this is the texture we're just looking at, the stone texture, where the green blue, the alpha channel is this, right? Now I'm going in, I'm pulling that alpha channel out, bringing it down here, and then multiplying it by a parameter, which is the detail normal strength. Now the output of that goes into this flatten normal, and what this is showing us is basically a mask for what is flat and what is not flat, right? And then the detail normal is here. That flatten normal is being blended with the baked normal, if there is one. By default, I set it to just an input. Where is it? If I hang on here. Stone. What? Where did all my weird? All my filters got reset. Materials, textures, material function. Got 23 minutes till Ben's on. Material function. No, material. Let's do material. There we go. Is it this one that's open? No, get out of here. So, that sucks. So we've got an input baked normal node, which in the end comes out as an input point, right? So then I can plug in my baked normal, which by default, I give it a really low res flat normal texture. There might be a better way to do that, but I do that. That way the shader is guaranteed to work even if I don't give it a normal map, a baked normal. Yeah, so by default, this input is pointing towards a flat normal, which is really low res, right? And then in here, I put it here. It blends with that, the flatten, and then it goes here in the normal input. Now, the nice thing is by keeping this as a flat normal, we can then later go in and double click this. We can override the flat normal if we want to, and then point to a baked normal. So this shader can still be used on assets that do have a baked normal. And then we just make sure that that baked normal is pointing towards the right coordinate. And by default, I have it set to 0. So it'll be looking at your first UV set for the baked normal. Solar, what's up? How you doing? Is a vector 3 cheaper than a flat normal image that's really low res? I think it yes. Yes, it will be. But can you switch it? Can you be like, can you input a vector 3 and then expose it? So like if we had this is a vector 3, right? You can convert to a parameter. A static switch, that'd be pretty. Yeah, so you could do this, right? Would you also use detail normals for top-down games like Diablo? You mean like a 3/4 fixed camera? It depends. So in Diablo, especially Diablo 3, the textures are quite stylized, right? So I think adding a detail normal is just going to add too much noise to the surface. But I bet in their new Diablo, at least from what I've seen so far, those look like there's detail normals in there because they're going for a much like crunchier, grittier, more realistic, even though still stylized kind of approach. But yeah, I always forget what would you put in here for the. Is it no? What's a flat normal in here? That's not. There's no way. I always forget this as well. 001. You're right because they removed the. Yeah. Thank you. Crunchy Diablo. Sounds like a great cereal. So you could have it to this and then a baked normal to this and then input this here and here, right? So default would be true. Oh man, my brain is not, it's not happening. But yeah, you could put a value input and switch between these two. I'm not sure. So I've never shipped a game in Unreal outside of Unreal 3. So what is right normal detail or detail normal? What do you mean? Oh, what is right normal detail or detail normal? It'd be detail normal because you're gonna say what it's doing and then what the input is, right? That'd be the good way to say it. It's like you would say detail diffuse. But when you're describing something, you could be like, this is the normal detail. But I go back and forth between the two, but you would say detail normal. Yeah, and the concept's called detail texturing. But yeah. So would you even use detail normal maps on props like a wooden piece of a prop and a giant wooden dude on everything? Like 95% of your assets should have a detail normal on them of some sort. You can have a library of detail normals as well, right? Where it's like, I don't know, you have 5 different types of metals, like 2 or 3 different types of wood. I don't know, a couple types of concrete, like damaged concrete, that type of stuff. So the question here really is whether the instruction count would be lower once constant folding is taken into account. So there's a chance that a flattened normal node would fold into something with fewer shader instructions, but that's implementation dependent. Yeah, I've seen, for me, that's where I go, hey, Ben Wilson, or hey, Tech Art, how do we do it? And like, even for me, I don't make materials at work, right? That's handled differently per studio. So uh, thankfully, I don't have to stress about it. But then, the downside is also uh, when I get in here, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So detail normals have been around for a while now, though. They're very useful and they should be on almost everything, especially if it's portfolio work. If it implies higher fidelity to your asset, then why not? Unless it's too noisy. That's the other thing, is you have to be really careful about how strong you're. Like, if we're looking here, like, I would say that detail normal is too, the strength is too high. So if we pull this out here, that strength is way too high. And you can see we're doing all types of horrible things to this texture right now. But let's say like 5. See, that gives me information without going overboard. And then I think I had it tiling at 4. You want to find a balance where it implies the detail and the fidelity of the surface without looking strange or causing noise on the screen. Yeah, Ego, I think their pipeline has to be crazy optimized. What does an environment artist do on their day-to-day? What's the difference between a level artist and environment artist? The studio. That's the difference. That is literally the difference between an environment artist and a level artist. Environment artists maybe will make more assets, but they're still building a scene and have the support of prop art and tech art and lighting artists. But a level artist probably rarely is creating content other than request assets. I think that's really the only difference. Environment artists will make more content. So you'll see a smaller studio call them environment artists, and I bet bigger studios on average call them level artists. That's probably the only difference, though. So either way, you need to be a good storyteller and pack in all the little stories and details and have strong composition skills and understanding of the overall scene, and not only making it pretty, but a good level or environment artist is going to be propelling the entire game forward with their environment. It's not just beautiful, but it's also pushing the narrative. The story becomes better. It clicks with the music. Everything comes together. That's when you're a really good game developer, is when you can be part of a bigger whole, contributing together with everyone to make the single image and experience like give people goosebumps, Feel like I was starting to get kind of tunneled in on my own brain. We got 13 minutes. Yes, Gathering Wolves. Yes. Straight on, man. Do you guys have any other questions about this type of stuff? I expect everyone to have detail normals in their work now. Everyone. Unless you're doing stylized stuff, then it kind of gets... You want to be careful with detail normals. I think that's where detail normals really lower in usage, is going to be in stylized work. Could we see it on a rock or other scaling assets? What do you mean, Bronze? Oh, Jasmine does? Oh, I'm excited. I might have to ask her about that. She'll be on next week, actually, for DinCon, and she'll be talking about her thesis scene. Yeah, see, it's very particular, and I would expect her to not really use normals in her scene. Sandy, Alois Dev. It makes sense because it would be very counterintuitive to the kind of soft materials that she's pushing through her game. So it is also more of a, it depends as well, right? But if you're going, if you can think of any games that you're really into that are going for this more like gritty or stylized, slightly realistic or really realistic games, they're going to have detail normals. Yeah, Chris doesn't use them sometimes depending on what the material is, right? But he will also tell you detail normals are a super useful tool to push a material further in its fidelity if you're going for a realistic look. Wouldn't detail textures be good as well when it comes to rocks? Yes. So rocks should have detail normals on them for sure, because you need that surface detail on there. Same mesh, but scale it around, or is it some second UV set? See, and that's another thing. You don't need that second UV set if you can tile in the detail normal. The second UV set is only really useful if you're doing light maps or if you're doing some type of mask, like a 0 to 1 mask to paint different information in spots of the material. But yeah. Detail normals and textures are useful whenever you need more visual fidelity. Yes. Or you're trying to do something higher frequency in the surface. Dude, there's all types of stuff you could do though. Like you could add detail. Paul and I talked about this once. We're about to transition into Ben's talk, but Polygon and I talked about how you can use detail masks inside of your own masks so that you can get higher fidelity in the transitional phase of a lower res mask. Does that make sense? And I've seen that done for sure. Ollie has even prototyped it. Video, please. Oh boy. I will note that down. Let's see here. Detail masks in masks, which is really interesting because you think about it, a detail mask. Woogie, hey, thank you for the tier 1, man. Hi to you. A detail mask is black and white, right? So you could pack 3 of them inside of one texture. But let's get into Ben's talk, huh? We got about 9 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm gonna switch over and we will 5-minute demo. Let's go. I'll switch over and we can give him the stage.